This is the DealMachine podcast that takes you from dreaming in your 9 to 5 to achieving financial freedom through real estate, wholesaling, and other investments. I've got 19 rental properties. I'm the co-founder of DealMachine, a platform used by thousands of investors across the country for getting data on who wants to sell and how to get in touch with them.
And my name is Ryan Haywood. Since 2019, I've done over 600 transactions and I've grown a portfolio of 53 rental properties, all through the vision and direction of wholesaling.
So our guests today are two 20-year-old guys who've done $500,000 in wholesale fees. My favorite part is they did their first deal at 19, which makes me think, why didn't I get started earlier? What do they know that's maybe holding other people back?
My favorite part was the fact that he used the bathroom stall in his high school as his office to get the first deal under contract.
So if he can do it there, you could do it from anywhere.
Let's talk about how you even got to the point where you're wholesaling. How did you come up with wholesaling? You guys look pretty young, not like you're 40 years old, midlife crisis, and then decided to get into real estate. Tell us about how you.
Wait, Ryan, are you speaking from experience?
No.
Yeah, so the way we both started is very drastically different. I'm right now 19, but I started about a year and a half ago. Before I started in like my senior year of high school, I was playing baseball. I was committed to play baseball, which I was speaking about earlier. And it got to a point where it was just like becoming too much in my life, and so I was like trying to find something like, okay, how can I do something to take my mind off of it? And I saw, as most people do on TikTok, a wholesaling video. I was like, oh, that's interesting. Like, why don't I just make money if I'm trying to like get away from baseball? And so what I ended up doing was learning about wholesaling, just kind of, fucking around, finding different things, what to do, what not to do. And eventually I just it clicked. And then that's where I met him, where he was an agent.
For a while. Like I started as an agent, like fresh out of high school at 18. I was like, all right, I don't want to go to college, and I couldn't because like my GPA was shot, like 1.8. I was like, dude, I don't like school. So I got my real estate agent license, and then when I was like 2-3 years into the business, he called me on one of my listings that I had, and he was like, hey, I have this deal. Do you want to buy it? Like, do you have any buyers? And I'm like, yeah, sure, I got some buyers, right? And I'm like, but why are you like whispering, and why is it like an echoey background? He said, well, I'm in the school bathroom. I'm like, dude, what are you talking about, school bathroom? He's like, well, yeah, I'm in high school still. Yeah, the stall. And I was like, so I guess he skipped class.
It was lunch break. And I thought I was going to make $20,000.
You told the teacher you had to go to the bathroom.
So I got to hit this.
Go and get a wholesale deal in the toilet.
Yeah.
Okay. So then I ended up going out there, and then that's when our partnership began. And like literally from the time that we spoke on the phone till like that last year ending, we did, I believe it was like $250,000 in just straight wholesale deals. And it was not really wholesale, it was Novations, which is a whole different story. But
yeah, well, actually break that down for us.
Yeah. So Novations is where you are using the most powerful marketing tool, which is the multiple listing services, to actually market your deal. And you're lessening the burden on the disposition process by having the real estate agents take care of it for you. And you just pay them a simple commission. So we implemented that because he would bring these deals, like these leads in the middle of absolutely nowhere, and be like, all right, like let's dispo them now, right? Like let's fuck around and find out and figure it out and sell these deals. So we were looking up any and every way to like, how do we sell a deal in the middle of nowhere? Because this is the only leads that we're getting. And that's when we found out about Novations, in which we could have just over our phones, like from the comfort of our home, be able to send an agent out there to be our boots on ground, take photos, do the whole listing, and handle all the inbound calls coming in from the buyers from that listing, and actually assign the deal for us. And then we keep the whole spread and just pay them their normal listing commission. So we implemented that strategy with every single one of our deals, and now about 90% of our business is Novations.
Yeah.
Got it. So what's the difference? Normally when you're doing a wholesale deal, you get the property under contract. So what does that look like when you're doing a novation?
The main difference is the pitch. So the principle is still fairly similar. There's a few key differences, but the pitch is the biggest thing. So obviously when you're in wholesale, majority of people, hey, I'm the cash investor. I'm looking to buy properties, right? I'll give you $90,000 for your property and then sell it on the back end. What we do is we come in there and we let the seller know everything that's going to happen. So, it could be anything along the lines of, hey, Mr. Seller, the cash offer is going to come in, but it's going to be a little bit lower, right now. We have an additional program where we can come up in price. And what we do is we market it out to our buyers to get you that higher price point. What I would want to ask you, Mr. Seller, is are you open to a little bit longer of a closing time frame? And almost more times than not, it's like more money, longer time frame. Yeah, I'm willing to give it. And so we let them know, hey, we're going to market this out to our buyers, and they're aware. Because what we do is we take on the entire process for them. And so the main whole point of the pitch is making sure they understand what we're going to be doing for them, how we're going to be doing it. And almost 9 times out of 10, they're always on board.
Got it. So is there a contract difference then
Yes.
in how you
So
do that? What does that look like?
Yes. So there is a main purchase and sales agreement, right, as any wholesale contract, but then there's 2 additional ones. So the second contract we add is a novation and indemnification agreement, which just specifically outlines the novation process, which can be anywhere between like 2 to 4 pages. I mean, in all of our bios, we have all the paperwork linked. But then the third piece is called an AIF, or otherwise known as an attorney in fact. What that allows for us to do is, again, it's a service for the seller. So what we do is we sign off on the listing documents for the seller, right, to get the property up and marketed, get the agent in place. That way they're not dealing with it. It's kind of a hands-off service for them. Those are the 3 main documents.
Got it. And just playing devil's advocate, why would somebody go through you guys for that instead of just going straight to an agent themselves?
Yeah. Of course. Yeah, that's honestly the biggest question we get all the time. The reason why is most sellers, believe it or not, don't want to deal with an agent because all it takes is one bad experience, right? One time an agent comes in, overvalues the property to get the listing, and then it sits on market for 6 to 12 months. Very common. Other issues are, right, buyers come in, all of a sudden, I love the property, but I want X, Y, and Z done before I move in. X, Y, and Z isn't always cheap. It can be anywhere between $10, $20, $30, $50,000. Sellers don't want to pay that, right? As well as there's obviously the showings, closing costs, a whole bunch of other minor things that most sellers just absolutely don't want to deal with. And more times than not, if someone's in a distress situation, that's the last thing they want to deal with. And so when we come to them, right, with a higher offer to them than the lowball cash offer, and we do way more for them on the back end, it's kind of a no-brainer on the seller's end.
Okay, got it. So if it's not a house that's like perfect condition, you might sell it as is, with the MLS through a novation. But if somebody requires that they're, fixing a few things, you guys take that on, is what you're saying.
Correct. Yeah.
And you have the ability to do that because you have interest in the property and that you'll also reap some of the sale proceedings.
Correct. Yes. And that's the beauty of it too, is with the novation, we can list anything. I mean, we've listed and sold fire damage properties and listed and sold $1 million properties. There is no cap on it. It's just a service. And if someone wants that service, regardless of the home type or value, we get it done.
So on the original purchase and sale agreement, are you still giving them a low offer, but then the second agreement says we'll kind of split the difference of anything above and beyond that we're able to get on the market, or how does that work?
So that is one creative option we have. Not necessarily, we haven't closed the deal through that way, but that is one we do talk to sellers about, just to kind of be collaborative. The way it works though is we give the seller a base price. And then from there, let's say for example, right, the base price to the seller is $100,000. If we go and list the property for $200,000, right, take 10% off the top, 10% accounts for 6% agent commissions, 3% buyer and seller side, 1% in title fees, and 3% in potential concessions like repairs to the property and whatnot. So we account for that. So $200,000 times 90%, you're left with $180,000. Anything over that $100,000 to the seller, we keep that difference. So in that case, we would have made $80,000.
Why do you guys do the novation strategy compared to just wholesaling? It seems like you've really leaned into that.
Yeah, it's easier when it comes to we like to do a lot of deals. Our motto is we make something out of nothing and we make everything out of something. So if there's even some type of potential to make money on the deal, we're going to lock it up and be bullish about it. Now, in order to do that, if we're locking in all these deals and taking these big risks, it's much harder to do that when you're the one wholesaling and pulling all the cash buyer data and doing all the calls yourselves versus just having an agent, hiring them to do it, and then you can scale that volume. And instead of you scaling that chaos, you're scaling systems by just leaning on the knowledge of other real estate agents.
Here's a question that I had about the listing process. Do you have to have anything with your broker in order to list those properties, or is your brokerage cool with dropping all those distressed properties on the MLS?
Yeah, it's just
so we don't have a brokerage, right? But
you work for one, right?
No, I don't list the novations, right? So I was a real estate agent mainly, and then I pivoted over to wholesaling mainly now because I don't have to do open houses and showings and all of this anymore. Now I can be here and make way more money than I ever have.
So you created a relationship with a realtor that gets them on the market for you?
Yes. So we do deals nationwide. So we create relationships with real estate agents in other markets, and then we send them the paperwork, and then we speak to the managing brokers, sometimes directly or just through the broker associate, and we get all of the paperwork approved through them. The only thing that they mainly need is just the authorization to sign listing docs and offers form. Once they have that, that specifically states that we are the limited attorney, in fact, for the property to sign off on these documents, then they can approve the paperwork.
Okay.
Sometimes they may ask for that document to be notarized for them to feel more comfortable with it. Or another option, which we only do if like this is our only option, which is just having the homeowner sign off on the listing documents and then us signing off on the listing documents as well as like seller line too.
Okay. And so do you use the realtor to kind of gauge what you should list the properties at, or are you the one that's deciding what the property gets listed at?
So both. We do our initial underwriting when we get the deal in, and then we ask the agent three things. We say, okay, after you've gone out there and seen the property, what can we sell it for absolutely as is? We don't put a dime into the property. And then, okay, what can we sell it for after we've touched the property up and we've gotten in some sort of well-maintained, livable condition? And then lastly, we'll ask them, okay, what could we get for the property when we fully renovate it and get it to pristine HGTV condition? Mm-hmm. Once we get those three prices, we'll have a better idea of where we can list it at. So they'll give us a CMA with those three, and they'll show us all the active comps so that we can understand the absorption rate of the market, knowing, okay, how many deals are actually going under contract, to how many deals are being listed actively, so we know where to price ourselves at. And then what is the condition of these properties? That way we know where to come in at. And maybe we can put $5,000 into the property, clean it out and paint it up, and then we can get an additional 20, 30 grand. Mm-hmm. Then that might be worth it to us.
What's the turnaround time or the hold time on some of these deals? On
60
average?
to 70 days. From contract coming in to we actually close and fund it, about 60 to 70 days.
So how old are you now?
22.
And you started 19 years old?
18 years old I started.
So you did a $250,000 in like assignment fees, we'll just call them, like in the last year?
So no, that was our first. So when we first met, which was, so we've been wholesaling now for about a month. I mean, not a month, a year, a year and like 2 to 3 months. The first 6 months that we met each other, we did $250,000. Then from that point in the past year, we've now done anywhere, it's right around 500 to 600,000 total. And that's all by primarily Novations.
Yeah, that's a little close to 700. He's being modest, but yeah.
How do you find the deals?
We do multiple different sources of marketing, right? So that's one, how obviously we came in contact with you. We do a lot of cold calling, and with that, you have to pull lots of data, public records, property records. And so with that, right, again, to sustain that high amount of deal flow and deal volume comes with a lot of records and a lot of leads. And so the best way to do that is, well, how many leads and prospects can we possibly get for as cheap as possible so we can do more volume? That's obviously how we came into DealMachine for skip tracing. But then on top of that, we also do PPC, which is like ads online. And those are our two main marketing sources, right? So it's all cold calling VAs, pulling data, skip tracing it, calling through them, and then as well as PPC and ad marketing.
Which one performs better right now, would you say?
PPC right now, just because it's quicker conversion cycles. However, what we do have is with the cold calling, it's still a very good source, and we're always going to keep it because, yeah, it takes some time because they are more long-term leads, but it provides a solid foundation. So it's one of those things that it's always consistently printing something every month where it gives us like a base set. Like we know, okay, if we want to put 10 grand into our cold calling, we know we're going to get X amount out. It's pretty predictable. And so that's the main reason we keep that consistently going. Did
you say 6 deals per month cold calling right now is kind of where you're at?
So it's 6 to 8 total, and it's pretty evenly split, surprisingly. So this past month we did 8, and it was literally split down the middle. 4 cold calling, 4 PPC. Sometimes there might be 1 or 2 more PPC deals, but it is pretty evenly split more times than not.
And who's doing the calling?
We have VAs. So we have overseas VAs that basically what we do is we'll get the data, skip trace it through DealMachine, and then as those lists come in, we upload it to the dialer, and the VAs are consistently calling every single day. All the VAs, when they call, someone picks up, yes, I want to sell my home, boom, gets sent to the CRM, acquisition rep calls it.
Got it. And that's somebody that's in Chicago with you guys, or
Correct.
where are they?
Yeah, so we have 2 full-time acquisition reps. One of them's in Chicago and another one's actually in Canada. But we have 2 full-time reps that take on the leads full-time.
And do the deals that you do, are they in the Chicago, Illinois area, or are you guys doing all over the place?
Nationwide as well. We have some in Chicago. We have some literally in every possible state you can think of.
Got it. And who do you guys like to target when you're pulling that data? Who do you guys like to target when you're pulling that data?
We have a few areas. So one of them is Indiana. Sometimes we do Michigan, North Carolina are kind of like the main 3. We'll trickle a little into Texas sometimes, but it's a slow market, so it's not the biggest thing we look for. But those are kind of the main 4 we target in terms of cold calling, and then PPC is just straight nationwide, which because of Novations, it doesn't make a difference to us.
How many callers do you have calling, and are they doing 8 hours a day or just like a few hours a day?
Yeah, so we have about. It kind of varies because they swap seats, but we have like 6 to 8 at all times. And they're calling anywhere between 4 to 8 hours a day. Just varies based upon like how the data is moving, if we need to swap seats or not. Because obviously, right, it's hard to ask someone to sit in a seat for 8 hours and not move and just call people 24/7. So they consistently swap. We have about 6 to 8.
What do you mean by swapping seat? Are they like physically located all together, or do you just mean like kind of virtually? Okay.
So they're located in Egypt, but the way it works is to ensure that we're always like making sure we're capitalizing on all the leads that come through and we're not slacking. We set different periodic times, right? So we'll have 6 to 8 callers at a time. What we'll do is we might have for one seat, right? One caller sits on that seat for 3 to 4 hours, right? Maybe they take a 30-minute break to an hour break, but during that time we bring in a new caller. They sit there for 3 to 4 hours. Reason why we do that is because it improves the efficiency of how they're calling when people pick up, right? If they sit there for too long at a time, people will start picking up and then they're going to be slacky. They're going to be like, and then they're going to forget things. So the quicker we can turn that over, the more quality it is.
Got it. Wow. You guys really have it figured out.
This is crazy. Really awesome. How do you know your market prices and how to make offers in all these different markets? Like that, to me, that would be a lot of data to be on top of.
It definitely is a skill in terms of the underwriting. It seems like, it seems simple, but it is a skill. Even I still to this day, there's times where we're like, what are we doing? Right? Like, it's just, you don't know. But what we do is we train all of our acquisition reps on how to run numbers. I mean, that can take anywhere between 3 to 6 months to fully dial in, because every time you run numbers, things are consistently changing. But the way we do it is we'll look at, recently sold properties. We never really go past 6 months. And then we'll also, right now, based off the current market, what we're doing specifically is we're looking at a lot of for sale properties, because just with all these things happening in the world right now, markets are consistently changing. And so we put a big focus on what's for sale and what's under contract, because sometimes something that sold a month ago right now could have a difference of 10 to 20,000, and that obviously could be the difference of a spread or not for us. So we like to see real-time market data as of right now.
What do you think is the difference between like somebody who's thinking about doing this and having the success that you've had at such a young age? Like, did you guys have like any important mentors, or were you just really pinched because you had a 1.8 GPA and that really motivated you? What do you think it is?
I'd say it's like a little bit of both. Like growing up, my family, they owned a construction company, like just real estate, building houses. And when I was like 14, my father passed away and it was just my mom. So I was like, okay, well, I don't want to go to school and like waste any time. I need to find a way to make money like fast. So then I was just like figuring out ways to make money. Like I'd sell phone cases and stuff, like trying to like make like little businesses, which is like another form of like drop shipping. But then I found out that, okay, I could get my real estate agent license at 18. So you don't have to be 21. So like I'll just do quote unquote like 4 years of college, but like with the real estate world and actually making money. So I always say like now I've graduated, right? So with some money in my pocket. But yeah, it was definitely that experience. And then also just like not liking being told what to do. So this is the most freest form ever. Wholesaling real estate, you could literally, like we could be in Thailand right now, like training kickboxing and still be dialed in, locking up deals. Like there's a whole like plethora of things that you can do with this type of industry. And that's why I believe I fell in love with it, because of the freedom aspect. Yeah. So if there's anything, I guess, like, that's holding anybody back from it, I mean, I'd say, like, don't let that stop you. Just act upon it. Like, I knew absolutely nothing about doing a real estate transaction when I was 18. I failed my real estate licensing test 3 times. I had one more shot, because you have 4 tries out here in Illinois. I had one more shot to pass it, and I ended up passing it, like, just barely, and then just took off from there. So it's like, just keep on trying. The only way you fail is just by giving up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and to answer your question as well, too, a big key mentor of ours is Rafael Cortez. We met him almost close to about a year ago. And he's been a big impact in terms of just, like, setting the guidelines, setting the road, like, what does it mean to actually, be legit and be what you talk about. So that's been a key stepping stone. And I think to, like, really answer the question that you originally said, is like, what makes us different than everyone else? If they want to kind of see success fast, like, what is it that differentiates us? The biggest thing is that we do what most aren't willing to do. And it's easier said than done. It's like, oh yeah, right. Just, work hard. And of course, but what happens is most times everyone gets into it and they go 1 month, 2 months, and they don't see results. And little do they know that's the stepping stone, right? I mean, the expectation I always said is, you want to expect to take 6 to 12 months of working nonstop every single day and seeing no results. And the hard part is you have to keep going. And most people just can't do it. But that's just what is normal to us. And so that's why we're able to see the success that we do.
Well, as we wrap up, do you have any final advice for anybody? I know you said you have the Novation agreements, like, in your social media profile. So maybe that's like a resource for somebody we could share.
Yeah. So in almost all of our social links and bios or whatever, there's like a link where we just give as many resources as we can away. One of them obviously is the DealMachine. Because that's just one thing that we use. What we try to do is give away the resources we use, not just like ones we heard about. So you'll see all the resources we use, what we do. We try to give codes if possible to kind of help them out and get them in the door. But then also, yes, there's paperwork linked there. There's like a whole course and everything that we charge like $5 for intentionally, just get you in the door, learn as much as you can. But yeah, it's all in the links in our bio.
Awesome. What are your social links?
Joshua.jmd.Dochee. You type in just Joshua.jmd and boom, I'll pop up like this.
On Instagram.
On Instagram, yeah.
And then mine is Tyler.Williams _. It takes me a while to think about that. So that's why I had to do it
first. There's a lot of Tyler Williams. Perfect, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much for joining us today. I'm really glad we were able to make it happen and glad we got to meet. So hopefully we could do more together, because I know you guys have a lot to give just based on what you've already put out there. But love how you just, dove into sharing on the episode today. It was a great story.
Of course. Yeah, we really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Have a good rest of your day.
You as well. Peace.
Thanks for listening to the DealMachine Real Estate Investing Podcast. Please leave us a review and follow along wherever you're listening to your podcast.